Hello, folks. Thanks for coming. My name's Dave Hodge. I'm the president of Zimtu Capital Corp. Certainly I welcome everybody to this Zoom with Zimtu call on early stage opportunities. And just by way of explanation, we have selected 4 of our current holdings, 2 of which are still private, and 2 of which I still classified as early stage because they're on their first drill program, or their first drill program is coming up. And certainly from a junior exploration point of view, a new company or a reorganized company, for them to hit on their first drill program could be quite significant for their shareholders. That is the whole company creation, getting in at the early stages, and assisting companies in the going public process, is one of the places that it has been very, very good for Zimtu. It's an important part of our business model. One of our holdings that we've held for a couple of years now just announced a $15.5 million financing, closed today. And originally, I think Zimtu's entrance price was 6 cents, and to now have $15.5 million in the bank, although of course we lost a little bit of that to the brokers and the brokerage firms, and so it turned out to be like 14.9 instead of. But that's just the price you have to pay to play. And Zincate certainly is a very strong position is in a very strong position to move the company forward with that kind of cash in the bank. If people have been following Zincate, it's a global opportunity, and one of the major shareholders, of course, is Zimtu Capital Corp, and that benefit at some point will flow through to the Zimtu shareholders. But back to the beginning, that's where Zimtu likes to get involved. That's where we like to start. That's where we can offer the most benefit to the companies that we're assisting. We've selected 2 companies that are still private, and that would be Zambezi and Eagle Bay. And 2 companies, as I mentioned before, that are on the early stage of being public and on their first drill program. So here today, we from Quartz and Nick Broadway, who's their key geologist. Nick used to work for Zimtu Capital Corp. He's now sort of out on his own with a couple of other deals, but is very much a part of Core Assets, as he was there from the beginning, and has been on the property a number of times. So the plan today is to let each of those 4 companies give a short presentation as to where they're at in with their particular company. And having said that, Scotty, maybe we could let you carry on. Just as a point of interest, Zimtu currently owns 8,250,000 shares of core assets, and that would relate to the 16 million shares that are out on Zimtu. Scott?
Thank you, Dave, and thank you everyone for attending. My name is Scott Rose. I'm the president and founder of Core Assets. I'm very excited about our project. We recently made news yesterday that we are doing a private placement non-brokered of up to $1.5 million Canadian, which is being filled rather quickly. And I'm very excited about the project and the team we have. And I'd like to thank Zimtu for being a significant shareholder. I'm going to pass it over to Nick Broadway, though, so he can fill us in on the project.
Thanks, Scott. I'm going to share my screen here. Looks good. Okay,
go ahead,
guys.
Nick, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So, hi everyone. My name is Nick Broadway, as Dave gave me the introduction there. I'm director and current vice president of Expiration with Core Assets. And yeah, we're CC is our ticker on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and we're also listed in Germany. There's a ton of info to cover here, but I'm going to condense it as well as I can. If anyone wants to get in contact with me afterwards to dig into technical questions, certainly feel free. So this is the opportunity we have here. It's the blue property. It's a copper, silver, gold thing in northwestern British Columbia. So there's a few cautionary statements here, of course. We're going through COVID right now, the global pandemic, so it could have effect on exploration activities on any project in Canada right now. Quick touch on the management. We got about 105 years combined here of experience. You know, probably 80 of that is Mr. Dave Hodge, of course. Quick look at the cap table.
You had up there.
Quick look at the cap table here to touch on. This is pre-financing. There's about 21.2 million shares out, no warrants. Insiders own about 57% of the company. Last financing was at 5 cents. So this is just a little bit of an overview. We got 158 square kilometers here on this property in the mining district of Atlin, BC. Property is situated along the southern shoreline of Atlin Lake, and it's accessible by boat and aircraft. All mining services are available in Atlin, and there's about 10 companies there right now that are also conducting exploration. Potential production scenario for ore transportation could be by barge on Atlin Lake, or there's also access to deep sea port in the USA if we could do that. And we're also fully permitted for drilling, which is great. So let's focus on the big picture here to start. So we're looking for big deposits, so we want big structures. The blue property, which is the yellow up here in the corner, that is located regionally with the Llewelyn Fault Zone, which is very important in this area. It's associated with crustal movement and mountain building along the whole Western Pacific margin here in North America. And these are the environments where we find super giant deposits like Snowfield. We're talking 26 million ounces gold, 3 billion pounds copper. Then we have KSM owned by Seabridge, which is 40 million ounces and 10 billion pounds of copper. So we're in giant country here, and that's where we want to be. We want to find a big deposit. So what makes the blue property, in a regional sense, a hot place for discovery? Pretty simple. We're constrained to the western margin of the Pacific Ocean. This is areas where we get large regional fault systems, which allow fluid mobilization. We got the right age rocks and the right ore minerals. So our key into recent with our age. And we have high-grade scar mineralization, chalcopyrite, bornite, calcite. And we also have the right flavors or alteration present, which indicates that we are close to a porphyry feeder zone. So we have limited time to really dig into technical aspects here, but there was a few presentations ago I did touch on porphyry style deposits. So today I'm going to take a look at CRDs. So CRD stands for carbonate replacement deposit. They're hosted in dolomite or limestone, which is basically dead organisms that have been buried in the sea floor and then they lithify over time. We're looking at high temperature rocks. We need an epigenetic area, which is, epigenetic orogenesis, which is younger than host rocks. Sulfide rich, intrusion related, polymetallic. So we've got silver, lead, zinc, copper, gold. Has to be dominated by replacement. And we need polyphase evolving systems. So the bigger the system, more stages, more complex overprinting, which means bigger metals budget. So to put it into easy terms, I guess, think of what happens when you have vinegar and you add it to baking soda. So the vinegar would be like the acid or the ore fluid, and the baking soda is like the limestone. So that creates a neutralization reaction. The contact then creates massive sulfide scab-like bodies that can be seen on our property. So they come out at surface. They're not always seen at surface, but in our case, we do have them at surface. So these, they come up in like a chimney-shaped structure, vertically oriented generally. And once you think, the key thing about these deposits is once you can lock into these chimneys, you can follow into the source. So it makes them really easy. So to take it back here, CRD, we're talking low tonnage, high grade, extremely high grade. With a porphyry, in comparison, we're talking about large tonnage with a lower grade. So I think with this property, we have potential to tap into both here and find a giant mineralized system. All the major companies right now are looking for grade. You know, grade is king in this industry right now, and we got potential basically to do both, which is cool. So the next thing I'll do here is I'll outline these two showings that we have here and tell you why I think the porphyry potential is here in the center of this property. We'll revisit this map again at the end as well to bring it all together. So this is what's called the Lavadeer Prospect. This is what actually first brought us to the area. And there's two spectacular high-grade copper gold skarns in this area, and they're 500 meters apart, exposed at surface. There's a really high magnetic signature here as well, right on the brinks of a low signature. So this is a really good sign, and it fits into the larger picture that we're trying to bring home here. There is one drill hole here, and it does have potassic alteration there, which is great. And it graded, it was 175 meters from surface at 0.27 copper. And then there was a little bit of high grade in there at the end, and it ended in a heavily altered skarn zone. So like, again, incredibly, it just fits the model perfectly. The copper numbers are real high, obviously, and I think that means we're probably pretty close to the feeder. So this is a look at the silver lime area. So silver lime area, which is 10 kilometers away from the Lavadeer, which was the previous one we spoke about, okay, to the southwest. And we're finding phenomenal grades of silver here, okay? Silver, zinc, lead. And that's what's coming up in these scab-like massive sulfide pods, as I described with the vinegar baking soda thing. So this is a classic CRD mineralization, and it's literally peppered everywhere on the property, which is extremely encouraging. And it tells us that we are near the top of the system. So it should be very easy to tap into. And when I say high silver, I'm talking 85 ounce silver here. 30 ounce, 85 ounce is not uncommon. So again, put that in perspective, we're talking $2,300 US dollars per ton on the silver alone, like very, very high. And that doesn't include the massive lead we have here, and greater than 20% over the detection limit zinc as well. And even, we got the gold credit here as well. So it's the polymetallic part of this that is interesting, So yeah. There's been no drilling done on that property also, I will say. So what we want to do here is we want to use a checklist for exploration criteria. So this is what a major company would do when they're doing their research on juniors. And it's very important to be able to check as many boxes as you can. I took this from a company called Meg Silver's deck. So the first 3 boxes here, these basically are the absolute bare minimum you need to get serious about spending money to explore for a carbonate replacement type deposit. So number 1, we got location. So when I say this, I mean regional geological sense. We want to be on the main street that forms deposits. This is where we get great views and every amenity we need in the geological mix. Then next, we're talking location within the system. So we want to be as high up as we can in the carbonate section, which means it will be closer to surface and there's room for this system to grow at depth. So we're seeing these 80-ounce silver at the surface here in outcrop. So I got a good feeling we're very near the source. And remember, 85 ounce per ton, it's about 7.5 times higher than what the minimum is here for a major to be interested in this type of environment. And then of course we got the zinc and the lead and the gold there, which are extremely respectable as well. But the silver is really what separates this from, say, a Mississippi Valley type deposit. So we're talking, it is very high grade. So the rest of these things here, they definitely need consideration to spark interest, but they're not really, you don't really need to tick these boxes at this stage. But it's truly remarkable because we do show signs of each and every one of these major criteria, the other sub criteria of the top 3, which is like, really, really good for the credibility. And this increases our interest to other silver majors. So now I want to put it all together here. We have 3 maps here. They all look similar. However, there is a difference. First 2 here on the left are core assets project. And on the far right here is a giant porphyry CDR, carbonate replacement type deposit that's located in Utah, USA. It's called the Bingham Canyon Mine. So this mine here produced historically 190 million ounces of silver, 850 million pounds of molybdenum, 23 million ounces gold, and 17 million tons of copper. So it's, big time tonnage here. So I want you to note one thing here though. The porphyry is situated in between both a copper-rich skarn up here, and then down here we have our manto of our CRD system. So oddly enough, it actually replicates exactly what we're seeing here at the blue property here. And the other thing to note here is the scale. This is a 1 kilometer scale here. So we're talking about 1.5 kilometer distance from the copper skarn to the high grade silver. On the blue property, we got 10 kilometers. So that means that our porphyry center here that's showing up on this Meg high could be larger. So it basically follows on what's called the hub and spoke model. And that basically the spokes represent the skarns, and then they emanate out from the core of the wheel. And the core of the wheel, of course, is your porphyry. So why should you even care about carbonate replacement type deposits? Well, they're high grade, low tonnage, they're low cost mining. Metallurgically, they're understood. They have a small environmental footprint. And then, of course, we have the potential to find other types of deposits like the porphyry feeder zone, which can add extreme substantial increase in IRR and CapEx recovery to the financial model. So this is our exploration budget here for this year. And basically what we want to do is we want to do a high resolution magnetics and EM survey over the whole property. This is going to allow us to refine our drill targets. Then we're going to add some petrography into it as well, so we can look into the ore genesis and track down that feeder system. And I'm extremely happy to say, of course, we are fully permitted here for drilling, which is a pretty big deal in BC these days. And I'm excited to get started on that. And then just keep in mind our budget here, 3.1 million. It's not a whole lot of money. So when you take that in comparison here and you want to emphasize the cost of discovery, with just $4 million Canadian spent on our property, we can be one step closer to making it, a similar deal to what these kind of companies have done. So it's, the cost of discovery is pretty important here. And that's basically it. If there's anyone who has any technical inquiries, they can reach me at nrodway@zimtu.com. And other than that, I guess if it's anything corporate related, you can talk to Scott. But thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick. We will allow some time for questions at the end of the presentation. I think next, do we have Patrick Schmidt?
I don't think he's in yet, so let's do Llewelyn.
All right, we'll move on to Llewelyn. The geologist for Eagle Bay hasn't been able to join us yet, but we have good information to suggest that he will shortly. And from Eagle Bay, we have
Llewelyn.
Oh, yeah, from Llewelyn, we have Pat Power, and he's here to tell us a little bit about what's happening with Llewelyn. They just completed a drill program, a new acquisition. Llewelyn certainly is on the move. Pat?
Thanks, Dave. Just want to say thanks to Zimtu, who's supported all our projects for many a year and continues to, which is fantastic. And Llewelyn is one of the projects they support as well. We are a company that has moved into the gold sector, and we've acquired 2 projects in Manitoba, both in Flin Flon, which is a good mining jurisdiction. We got our permits within 2 weeks, which is amazing for any part of Canada. We just got our results back from our first project, just 27 Ks from Flin Flon. The Cloud Project. It was a gold target that has never been drilled before. And we were drilling a mag target with outcrop of gold. And between 140 and 180 meters, we had 2 really good intersections come back. We've got 69 centimeters of almost a full ounce, 26 point some odd grams. And 200 meters away, we have another big intersection of 2 meters of, on average, about 12 grams. So we are it's a new discovery. It's super shallow. It's in an area that we believe we can actually open pit because we think there's multiple veins here. So it won't be underground mining. It'll be open pit, which is permittable in this part of Manitoba, no problem. And so we're really excited about those results. It's going to stimulate a new drill program within the next 8 weeks to infill that 200 meters between. So that's one of the projects we have. We have just acquired a second project called the Quartz Project. And there's historic drill holes in there that are quite stunning from Hud Bay back in the 1960s and 70s. So as we speak, we're flying EM over that, helicopter EM right now, and we'll be finished that in the next 4 or 5 days. And that will be followed up by a drill program within the next, that has to be drilled, that particular project has to be drilled in the winter because it's on a small, shallow lake. The original Cloud property is on it's on dry ground. It can be drilled 12 months a year. It's easy access. So there's great access in Manitoba. We're off a highway, 300 meters. Both projects are off the highway. The Quartz is about 1.4 K off the highway, but still very accessible. We have the labor from Flin Flon, which is in a bit of a tough time right now because mining has done not that well over the last 10 years there. But we look forward to drilling that, but we are really excited about our Cloud results from yesterday. It is a new discovery and it has to be infilled and it's open on all ends and at depth. So it's going to be drilled again within 8 weeks. So we're excited about that. That's what we're up to right now.
Pat, I suppose I should have mentioned that Zimtu owns 1,076,000 shares of Llewelyn, and we have a million warrants at 16 cents, and the current trading price is what, Pat?
23. So,
and certainly those warrants, although they're already in the money, we expect them to be much deeper in the money shortly, if you know what I mean.
Excellent.
Anyways, next on our agenda, we have very exciting new company. It's still private. It's something new for Zimtu. And one of the criteria that Zimtu uses when it is going to offer our support to a private company to help them get public is more about the management. And I can tell you that three brothers that are working on this deal, and I always think of them as those guys that from the Cat in the Hat, and he has to bring in thing 1, thing 2, and thing 3 to clean up the house. So I always call these guys thing 1, thing 2, and thing 3. They're very dedicated. They're very excited about their opportunity, and Zimtu will own a very significant position in Zambezi when we finally get it public. And we currently have about 11,855,000 shares, and they are just completed a financing, which is one of the criteria to go public. Is you have to have money, and it's nice to see that the three brothers were able to raise that fairly quickly. Justin, if you want to tell us a little bit about it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dave. Thanks to everyone at Zimtu. It's been a wonderful opportunity. It really was a unique opportunity to bring something like a revolutionary new board sport into the world via a platform traditionally focused on resources and batteries, etc., etc. Zambezi, I can tell you, is moving at light speed. Progress over the last few months has been blindingly fast. I'd like to run. Many of the people on here are already familiar with what Zambezi is. I hope they don't mind. I'm going to go through a very quick presentation at high speed to give everyone an idea of what we're doing, what the product is, and where we're going. So just bear with me while I share my screen here. Can everyone see that?
Looks good.
Okay. All right. Just 1 second. And I'm just going to go. To full screen mode. Everyone can still see. So we're going to go through very swiftly. It's a product presentation, then the intellectual property, a very important component of the story, manufacturing, pricing, and the sales strategy, of which we are now on the brink of. So, what is Zambezi? Zambezi is something that proves the point that something very simple and very small can have a massive effect. We call it a board. Obviously, from this picture, it's not a board. We use the word board so that we can speak in the language that everyone understands. It is an entirely new product that enables, in a nutshell, everyone to use the water in the most powerful and effective way, regardless of where they are, how old they are, and their ability level. One thing I would ask everyone to bear in mind is that the boards in this presentation are the heavy-duty pre-production boards, search and rescue, etc., etc. The consumer-grade board will be significantly shorter and will not have windows. These boards are in use right now with the largest lifeguard organization in Greece as search and rescue boards. But if you can see my mouse, the actual final board will be like this. And that is underway right now. So when you're watching this, please just bear that in mind. Even this board here is only about 4'3". Tiny. It's all about the core. It's all about the human core, the core and the legs. It's the core from which the human body's power comes from. The unique design of the Zambezi board allows for the most powerful kick in aquatic sport, period. It does this by recoiling, rolling, and matching the body's motions. It's not flat. A tricycle is stable, a bicycle is unstable. which rides better, which performs better. The Zambezi board rolls and moves with you. It recoils. Eric West, who's riding this board here in Hawaii, is actually too heavy for this board. He's 220 pounds and can still ride the tiny board. The board recoils and bounces back with each stroke of his body. That means it's just like swimming. Avi, one of the Greek lifeguards here, is doing butterfly. The board is sticking with him. It's natural. It's like riding a bicycle. And here's the key. In the slides that are coming up, I'm asking you all to look at this cock knee kick, rotational round cock knee kick. It's one of the most natural motions a human being can do. It's like riding a bike. It's like hiking. You see, look at the legs. Natural for cyclists, natural for runners. And again, the cock knee kick, and again, and again. And this last slide, obviously, I'm sure many of you will be appreciating where we're going here. They are almost identical. In other words, because it's so natural and easy, most people can learn it in less than 10 minutes. And that is very important because the learning curve in all these other paddle sports is very long, and it precludes most people ever learning how to do it properly. And because it empowers most people, it means that they're going to go out in the water. Suddenly, the person who's normally a very good athlete but is not a strong swimmer is empowered. They feel confident and comfortable. And that means that they can go out there and play, especially when they're on vacation. Now, all the photographs that you'll see here are obviously in beautiful, warm tropical locations, Greece or Hawaii. You'll see a lot in Canada too. This location can be the lake, just as easily as a coral reef in Hawaii. All these things mean that people are now free to do what they love doing, which is just to explore, to go and see what's around the corner without having to do some dramatic sport. And that means that it's applicable to most aspects of people's vacation. It's social. We're in a COVID time now. They have to make laws to keep people apart. That's how much people like being together. Because the Zambezi board is small, people can be close together, comfortable. If they had paddles, they couldn't be that close. And that means it is very, very significant for resort tourism. You'll see as we go further on where I'm going with this. This is the point. Hotels and resorts want a board like this. Looks good on the beach, looks great in the pool. Another aspect, the board can be used for rehab, fitness, and in resort pools. Companies that have spent this kind of capital on swimming pools want a product that can be used in a swimming pool. Physiotherapy dimension is huge. I'm not going to go into too much detail now, but this presentation with a longer version will be available to anyone who wants to take a look. The physiological aspects, the physiotherapy aspects apply to people with strokes, etc. The person in the picture, this is in Greece, in Athens, very severe stroke, former triathlete, was actually able to use the board in less than half an hour of work. Phenomenal. So you can see where that's going. Once again, very quickly, here's the current board. The new board will be about that length. It will not have the windows. The windows are now redundant. This means that we have a more efficient and lower cost product as well. And here is probably the seminal illustration. This is what the world currently uses. This is what a Zambezi board means. The implications for rentals and tourist locations is huge. They don't rent vehicles like this. They rent vehicles like this. This is the vacation board of the future. It's also the board of the modern world. That's Vancouver. Look at these apartments. There's no space for paddle boards. There's no space for kayaks. There is a space for a Zambezi board. It unlocks the simple pleasures in life, whether it be Greece, Hawaii, or Thetis Lake, Vancouver Island. What's significant about this? The child is riding an adult-sized board. If you're a resort rental, you don't have the right size boards for everyone. And our motto is no one gets left behind on the beach. The mere fact that all these different people are riding exactly the same size boards and having a great time means that's what the family will choose to do. Again, that's her dad. He's a monster. Here's the daughter riding the same board, having the same race, having the same great time. Here we see the other side, the sporting side. Natural swimming strokes, freestyle, butterfly. These people have just got on a board. Once again, the drop knee kick, mother and daughter. Many of you will understand the significance of this size market. Participation, kids and adults, kids and adults, kids and adults. There's a comparison. The guy on the right is going to spend all day going around like that trying to learn paddleboarding. An 11-year-old boy has already mastered Zambezi boarding. And here we get the kicker. All this swag, the flippers, the bathing suits, the snorkel. Is this girl going to buy anything but Zambezi flippers, snorkels, bathing suit? I don't think so. The hardcore side.
Oof.
Also the intellectual property. 24 patents covering Europe and North America. Our patent lawyer, one of the best in the country. Let's talk about the manufacturing and the pricing. I'm very happy to announce that we are well underway with our OEM manufacturing deal with Tahi Sports. Tahi Sports is the #1 board manufacturing company in the world, in France, Vance, France. We've already paid half of the funds required for a very expensive aluminum mold, which will spit out millions of them. We are in the industrial design stage prior to that. The relationship is going fantastically. They will be able to produce just with the one line up to 28,000 boards per year, and they will increase as we increase sales. That's for a paddleboard, but you get the idea. Very, very sophisticated manufacturing process using aluminum. It's twin sheath thermoforming. Aztec is technically the technology. Now here's why that counts. Here's a price comparison for everyone. I'm just going to move this little thing so I can actually see. On the right, to explain all of these numbers, all of this data is in France. Why? Because we need to keep the variables the same. So we are comparing a Tahi Sport, Aztec paddleboard, 11-foot, which is the most common rental, versus a Zambezi, the pre-production board and the new board size. The dramatic difference in size it's stunning. The new board will be about 9 pounds. Over here, what do we have? 35 pounds. 35 pounds and 11 feet. That's the competition. That is the competition. On the right, price comparison in euros in France. Mid-range Merez dive fins are what we are choosing to go with the board. You use dive fins. Zambezi Aztec 500 euros sale price plus 18 euros, 518 euros. That's SUP Aztec 1,099 euros. Paddle 139. SUP leash and coil, our leash is included. There's your price difference. And in most places in the world, you're required to have a life jacket in order to use an SUP. So we can add that into their bill. Not with Zambezi. Zambezi is a safety device. So we can see immediately where we sit in the market. The Zambezi board will demolish SUP. And that's from a guy who was one of the first, that's one of the first guys to sell SUPs in Vancouver. Chris Ladner. What is our sales strategy? I'll summarize our sales strategy in somewhat military terms, me being an ex-military man. You cannot conquer the whole world in one sweep. Identify the penetration points, penetrate and dominate. You might not realize this, that most of our perceptions of what vacation and the good life is is dictated by a small handful of high visibility locations in the world that really are overwhelmingly influential. We've identified 9 that we will ultimately target. The goal is to penetrate and dominate in those places. And how are we going to do that? There are 3 legs to this: the resort, the organized beach, and the other components on it. And from there will come online retail sales. The board will only be sold online or in resort stores. Zambezi has been very fortunate in the alliances it has built. The pre-production boards are already in use by the largest lifeguard organization in Greece, Lifeguard Hills. Lifeguard Hills is a private organization. They are contracted to look after beaches and importantly, very large sporting events. They are a very close ally in the Athens River area and also elsewhere in Greece. They are effectively one of our frontline sales forces. That's them there. You couldn't ask for a more attractive bunch of salespeople. Why are the lifeguards so important? Because as they protect people on the beach, they're admired, they're trusted, respected, as is the Zambezi board. You can immediately see the cross branding: heroes, truck, board. This is a shot taken as Zambezi was practicing a drill with Lifeguard Hills. This is famous Vulumeni Beach. Thousands and thousands of people. You can see the visibility. This is the bow rescue method. You can immediately see the impact of having the Zambezi boards at the lifeguard tower, which is where this is. Look at this kid. Get the kids, get it all. We are already being used to lifeguard very, very large sporting events in Athens and Greece. Huge swimming competitions. Why? Because the board can get in close to the swimmers without hurting them. They love it. There's no paddle. The lifeguard can get to it, can go right into that bunch of people there without injuring and save someone. These are hairy events. We've been in them ourselves. And of course, because of that triathlon connection, you're now accessing one of our target markets, which is the triathlete. I won't go through all of this, but basically, the Zambezi board matches perfectly the triathlete demographic. You're looking at a $2.8 billion market. Right here, you can see the boards, bicycle, beverages, the cross branding. This is already well underway. Organized events, structured Zambezi outings called Zambezi Safari. This creates the experience. This cements in the resort goer the memory of the Zambezi experience. When they go home, they buy the board for the cottage. This triangle: lifeguards, resort, organized beach. There's no way out for the consumer. They admire the lifeguards. They participate in the resort activities and on the organized beach. That leads to retail sales. Here you see that triangle in real life. Lifeguards patrolling, the boards at the towers, boards being practiced and shown in the beach, in the pool for rehab, etc. These people are going back and forth all day long between these 2 brackets. And again, only this time we have boats. Boats are going to be a massive market for us. One of Tahi's sister companies is Elan, as in the skis, etc. Most people don't realize they are a major luxury yacht brand. Yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. You get the idea. They're taking them on tours. The compartment is where you got that water from. You can see the synergy with scuba and snorkeling. This is where the boards are hitting this summer. So if all goes on track, board, we are a partner with the organization that controls everything you see. The most prestigious resort in Greece, Astir. They control all the beach activities in this area. There will also be Corfu in this trip, likewise. The other main focus is the incredibly influential area of the Balearics, specifically Formentera, Mallorca, Ibiza. I don't need to tell you how big these are, 14 million visitors a year. We already have our team building and moving at speed in these areas. There's a lot to talk about, and I'd love the chance to speak with each of you about it. We've closed up our first round of financing. We will open a subsequent round, probably in about a month and a bit. We're going to keep the dilution on the company extremely tight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Justin. Great presentation. And certainly here at Zimtu, we're excited to see Zambezi moving forward. At this point, we will introduce another private company that Zimtu is assisting in the going public process. And it is centered around a property that Zimtu and Daruge Geological originally sold to a company called Arctic Star, which coincidentally is another one of our Zimtu companies. But we sold them a niobium rare earth property in British Columbia. They worked it, and one of the representatives from Daruge Geological will tell us a little bit about the property and the results that Arctic Star got. And to that end, Zimtu offered to assist them in the going public process, and we are currently financing Eagle Bay with the initial desire to raise a little over $1 million. And in that, we will need to have at least 150 shareholders, because that's what the exchange requires on a new listing. We have with us today Steve Minot. He is working for Zimtu out of the Zimtu office, arranging for the financing and the 150 shareholders. There is an opportunity here. The whole rare earth sector seems to be turning itself around here a little bit. And that's why Zimtu made the offer to help them go public. Steve, just maybe could introduce yourself and then introduce Patrick Schmidt.
Sure, thanks, Dave, and thanks to Zimtu. Steve Minot, going to be working with the Eagle Bay here, an exciting opportunity. Thanks everyone for joining. I'd like to take the time to introduce Patrick Schmidt, who has been up on the property and able to give a description on what we have in front of us. So Patrick, if you could, thanks very much.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Dave. Hi, Steve. So yeah, I was involved in the discovery of the carbonate. I do have a small presentation that I put together. So can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen. No problem.
Okay. All right, I hope you can see that. So yeah, the property is located in British Columbia. It is called Cap Carbonate. At least I think that still is the name. So it's about 85 kilometers northeast of Prince George. There's pretty good infrastructure close by. And I just want to, most of you probably know this stuff since you worked with Dave, but carbonatites are of high economic interest because about 20% of the known carbonatite showings, they have a resource or are actively mined or have been mined. So there's once you find them, there's a high chance you get some out of it. And generally, how it works, as Dave already mentioned, there's again high interest in rare earth, but also still in niobium which is commonly mined from carbonatites, and they work as multiple intrusion systems where you can have not just one commodity, but they basically offer multiple commodity deposits. Most commonly, they're mined for niobium under earth, but also for fertilizer, for phosphate, for fluoride, and some even for copper and gold. So it's very interesting if you encounter these rock types, as you upfront never know what you get. Niobium is probably one of the biggest markets right now. It's mostly for steel, but some of them also have tantalum. Dave's involved in one of those, and the rare earths are mainly used in rare earth magnets, really strong permanent magnets, used in wind power plants, hybrid cars, and so on. Now, I just want to talk about the carbonatite itself. So it was discovered in 2017 by myself and a regional geologist that wanted to do a site visit. At the time, we had a short drill program planned, and I got this phone call from a 70-year-old regional geologist who wanted to see carbonatites. Now, so I thought I'd plan an easy route and just like start up the hill, go down the gully, and fair enough, we basically walked over this creek, and everything was just carbonatite. So that was a beautiful discovery, and it's more than 50 meters in true thickness so far, and I mapped it over about 90 meters, and it's open to both sides. And then we had to go home because I think it was just old guy. So then we drilled it and intersected multiple, about 50 meters of carbonatite, and with multiple very interesting intersections. So these white minerals here that you see in the core, those are pyrochlores. So that's a niobium-bearing oxide. And on the second picture, it's just this. And they're really high grade. So if you have a pyrochlore concentrate, they run about 70% niobium oxide. So you don't need much to get a fairly high grade. Interesting is usually everything in the range of 1% niobium oxide. And although the true thickness of this first hole was only 50 meters, we haven't really drilled the potential at all. That was just the first discovery hole. And so there's a large potential in this area to find more. And that's what I want to highlight now. So carbonatites have a fairly easy recognizable geophysical signature. This is an old map. I haven't changed anything since 2017. So carbonatites, they usually contain a lot of pyrrhotite or magnetite, which makes it magnetic. So if you fly a geophysical survey or do a ground survey, you will find that many carbonatites are in a mag high. And also they are radiometric highs. And the host of these carbonatites is limestone in many cases, or around here in that area. And limestone shouldn't give any of these similar responses. So whenever we find mag highs or radiometric highs on a map, we're pretty certain it's a carbonatite here. And so it's an excellent tool. And this is a map. I think the claims now extend further, but it basically just shows how many good targets are over. So here's the scale bar. This is a kilometer. So we're talking about 2-3 kilometers of potential on just this side. And then I want to show, I think in 2016, they also did some soil lines over this area. And so on the left is the niobium results, on the right the rare earth results, and it shows that where the carbonatite is eventually located, which is just where we found it, was here, where my mouse is. there is a soil anomaly where we have niobium high in the soil, and then we have it here. And similar with the rare earth, the highest value is here, and then, but overall it's very elevated compared to the background, which we see here. And this is the last map I want to show you. It highlights all these high priority targets. So the discovery hole is here, and we just drilled this anomaly, so that's about the 50-meter thickness. But what really intrigues me is just to the northwest, this bigger anomaly. It looks a little bit weird just because there are two different geophysical surveys, but if we had the same survey, this would light up a lot more. And this is a lot thicker. And we hope that with some work, we can define multiple silts of carbonatites that give enough tonnage. And the grade was 1%, I think, or I know around 1% when I found it and drilled it. But then we had our QP, Alex Knox, do a site visit, and he walked around this area and found up to 3% niobium in a boulder. And as a background information, the biggest niobium mine is in Brazil, and they run at around 2.5% niobium oxide. And there's a Canadian mine that runs at about 0.6 to 0.8% niobium oxide. So there's real potential in this area to find the right grades to be economic. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been told only 4 minutes, so I hope I made it in time. If you have any questions.
Patrick.
Thank you, Dave. Nice to see you again.
Patrick has been with Zimtu Associated Companies for quite some time. He was quite young when he first got involved, and I see now he's getting old. But that's a good thing in this case, because he's got the experience to know what he's talking about. At this point, just before we move on to questions, I'd like to introduce Stefan Bogner. And Stefan writes Rockstone Research and writes on most of the Zimtu companies. You're able to follow all of our companies through Rockstone, and Stefan provides his unique interpretation of the company's position and their news. Stefan, if you want to just say hello.
Yes, hello everybody from Switzerland. Yeah, check out rockstoneresearch.com. I follow most of the companies. I haven't written up Zambezi and Eagle Bay, not yet, but I'm working on a report for Zambezi here right now. So I hope to be ready with a report in about 1 or 2 weeks. And yeah, it's a great company. I'm participating in the financings as well. And yeah. And I'm also, of course, very keen about this Eagle Bay and rare earths. And yeah, hope to get it public very soon. So yeah, check out rockstoneresearch.com. We have a newsletter. It's cost-free, and everybody can sign up and get my newsletters. Okay, that's from my side.
When Stefan says it's cost-free, he means it's cost-free to you, not cost-free to Zimtu. Just wanted to point that out. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, we do have a couple questions that just came in on the chat from Zakako Helmet. Thank you. The first one is going to be for Zambezi. So Justin, if you're free here, when is the IPO planned? And you are muted, Justin, just to let you know. When is the IPO planned, and will the shares be tradable in Germany? And so you can answer that. And Stefan, if you could just keep in mind, he does want this translated into German for him.
Thank you. Thank you for your, is my mic good? Thank you for your question, Helmut. We are moving at speed. I'm sure you understand that I cannot say specifically when we will list, because that really is not in our hands. Our goal is to be in a position to apply to do so by the end of May, early June. We plan to have our ducks in a row, when bureaucratically speaking, the people, the money, and of course the prospectors. We're moving ahead of schedule, so I believe late May, early June is when we are strongly hopeful that we'll be able to list. As for when they will be tradable in Germany, it will be, the initial listing will be on the CSE, and then subsequently, others will pick it up and it will begin to trade in Germany. I don't have a definitive answer for when, how long that delay would be. Dave would have some advice in that regard on what to expect that time frame to be subsequent to listing on the CSE.
It will take a little bit of time to get up and trading on the European exchanges, but all of those exchanges are very familiar with Zimtu. They're familiar with companies that are backed by Zimtu, and their major concern is trading volume. They rely on the Canadian regulatory system to regulate the companies, but it's trading volume that they're interested in. And as soon as we get some volume going, you'll see it listed in Frankfurt and Stuttgart and Munich and the like. Stefan, did you want to translate what Justin had to say?
Motion, no need.
Well, I already translated it in the chat. I sent it to.
Oh, I see. One thing, may I add? May I add one thing to add a bit?
Sure.
No, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the second question here, also from Helmut, there is when will Core become a producer, and when is the break even expected?
So this is a discovery story. So I mean, we're years away from even a pre-economic assessment on this property. So right now, what we're focusing on is what ingredients do we need to make this appealing to a larger company, and what can we do to make it a success? With regards to you breaking even on your investment, I think you're going to get a lot more than break even.
The real opportunity in a company like Core is discovery. It's discovery that produces the greatest trading volume and the greatest upside. So if they put some good holes into that property, you don't need to worry about when they're going into production. You'll see appreciation in the stock based on discovery. That is the #1 driver of any junior exploration company. It is not production, it's discovery. And that's what Core is all about.
That's all we got.
Do we have any other questions? Well, folks, it's been great having you here. This whole COVID thing is driving me nuts, but you know, that's one of the reasons that we're offering this form of communication, and certainly even once we've beaten COVID, Zimtu will continue to offer this kind of contact, either with a group of companies like we did today, or individual presentations. I know that Zambezi is quite excited to do their first single company presentation where they'll have more time. But is there any other questions?
No.
Thanks, folks.